Hi, and welcome. This is a repair video for the Infinity Feeding Pump. If you find that your unit won't turn back on anymore, or if you plug it in and you're presented with the error 99 or ER99 code or any other code, then this video will help you repair your feeding pump back to its original functions. To make these repairs, we will be needing a few items to complete it. First is a heat gun, second, multimeter, third, a sharp knife, preferably an X-Acto knife, 4, a star-headed screwdriver called Torx, 5, a pair of scissors, 6, a soldering iron, 7, a pair of helping hands, 8, solder paste, 9, rosin core solder, 10, an 18650 battery, 11, nickel strips, and 12, a portable spot welder. Now for the backing removal. Using the heat gun, lightly heat the label on the back of the unit starting at the tab. Using the X-Acto knife, slide the blade under the length of the warm label. Slowly begin peeling away to reveal the screws holding the unit together. Here, the first half of the label was removed using the heat gun, the other half ripped off where the heat gun was not applied. Now that the back label is removed, we can access the screws. Use the Torx screwdriver to remove all the screws. Find the seam where the colors meet and pry the back apart. The backing will be difficult to separate. Don't give up, it will separate. Once you've revealed the electronic innards, locate the battery. It will be the loose cylinder with pink sponge around it. Detach the battery from the motherboard by grasping the wires at the male plastic end and firmly pulling up. It is this little thing that is the cause of the problem. Now we need to remove the protective layers from the battery to get to the component underneath. First, carefully remove the foam from around the battery. We will be reusing this. Warning: handling and using these types of batteries can be extremely dangerous. Performing any repairs by yourself without any professional assistance is not advised. Perform at your own risk. Now, very carefully, with a sharp blade, the X-Acto knife, cut only the outer first layer. Warning, do not cut deep. You could damage the outer wall of the battery or slice through a wire we are trying to save, so be very careful. The best place to cut is close to the bulge. Once you've removed the outer shell, slowly remove the tape. We will be reusing this. We have now exposed the B.M.S, short for Battery Management System. This little green strip is connected to the positive and negative ends of the battery. This controls the over and under voltage for the battery. It stops the power going into the battery when it is full, preventing overstuffing it and blowing it up, as well as providing a cutoff when the battery gets too low in power, preventing underpower, which damages the battery by shortening its life and how long it can last. On each end of the battery are round stickies. Remove them and place them aside. We will be reusing them again. Now you will see metal strips from the B.M.S heading to each end of the battery. They are tack welded on. This may make removal difficult. At this time, we can check the voltage of the battery. This battery is dead. It reads 0 or a negative number. This is a fresh naked battery. Having the battery like this is extremely dangerous. This is the positive portion of the battery here, and the negative is the rest of the entire surface. A special heat shrink sleeve is used to protect it and make the battery handleable. Warning: handling and using these types of batteries can be extremely dangerous. Performing any repairs by yourself without any professional assistance is not advised. Perform at your own risk. This battery is a lightly used triple-checked battery with great capacity. These are pure nickel strips. They come in various thicknesses and widths. These strips are thin enough to cut with regular scissors. I tried to pull the nickel strip off the old battery in one piece with no success, so the old strips need to be replaced. The B.M.S have positive and negative markings shown here that need to be respected when being replaced back to the battery. These are helping hands. They act as additional holding hands or fingers, allowing you to fully use your two hands. We need to desolder the old nickel strips off and resolder the new strips back onto the B.M.S. Position the B.M.S within the helping hand's grip so you can easily access the solder joint. You don't need to, but I use solder paste to help speed the heating and placement of the solder. This prevents overheating and burning of the board. Heat up your soldering iron. Place a small amount of solder paste on the joint you want to desolder. Apply the hot tip of the soldering iron to the solder joint with the solder paste on it. They should separate. Warning: nickel strip ends will be hot. Wait about 5 to 10 seconds for the strip to cool before touching it, or use a pair of tweezers. Place the new strip in the helping hand's grip. Place a small amount of solder paste on both the B.M.S end and the strip end being soldered. Line up the desoldered B.M.S end with the new nickel strip end in the helping hands and solder together. If more solder is required, apply a small amount. Warning: nickel strip edges are sharp and can cut if not properly handled. Remove the black heat shrink from the other end of the nickel strip and repeat for the other side. This little black piece is an extra precautional heat shrink cover for extra protection. It protects from the positive terminal connection touching against the negative terminal. We will be reusing this. If more solder is required, apply a small amount. Now with that all done, we are now ready to place the B.M.S on the new battery. Take this white strip of tape off the old battery and place it in the same place on the new battery. This will add heat protection from the B.M.S. This is the DH30 portable spot welder. I will be using this to tack the nickel strips to the battery ends. You gently hold the nickel strip in place with one probe. When ready, gently touch the second probe on a different spot on the nickel strip. Wait 2 seconds. The 2 spots will ignite a welding tack, holding the nickel strip in place with as little heat as possible. No soldering required. Tack both ends of the B.M.S. correctly to each end of the battery. Replace the tape that covered the B.M.S, ensuring the wires run up along the positive side of the battery. Replace the pink protective foam back around the battery. And finally, replace the sticky circles on the ends of the battery. Make sure the foam side is on the motherboard. To test the battery in the unit, properly plug the battery back into the motherboard, making sure the 2 lines on the connector from the battery line up with the open end of the connector on the board. Now, immediately after connecting the battery, the unit remembers the last error and will beep at you, displaying the last code. You must turn the unit off by pressing the on-off switch on the front of the unit. Now turn the unit back on. It will power up as normal. The battery light might be low, but now there are no error codes. The unit now charges and will function as normal. Now let's test the unit. plugged in, we can see it charge. Turning it on boots up its test cycle. It turns on. Let's unplug the power cord. It stays on. Great! Push the back cover back on, making sure the battery is in the proper spot. And now, replace the screws, reapply the label, and now you're done. Your unit is back to normal. Charge and use as normal. Use the unit as you normally would. I will leave my contact information in the description. Thank you for watching.